Hey guys, Jay Hoyt here. Before this video gets started, I just want to say thank you guys for supporting me on my channel. The amount of views and nice comments you guys have been showing has been crazy, so thank you guys so much for that. But as always, at the start of these videos, I'm telling you guys, the vast majority of you are not subscribed. So make sure to go down below, hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. And don't forget, you can always change your mind later. But with the conclusion of stage 4, we now have the stage 4 major. Who's gonna win? Let's make some predictions. What's going on, guys? Jay Hoyt back with you today. Welcome back to Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. We got a really close, nail-biting game for you in the background. We got some hard point on Moscow, also in league play. So hope you guys do enjoy that. But like I said, with the conclusion of stage 4, we have our groups, we have our bracket. I don't want to spend super long on the groups, but let's take a quick look at Group A here. Atlanta FaZe, a perfect 5-0 group for them. 15-2 map count. They crushed everywhere. They only lose 2 maps in the entire group play. They lose 1 to Minnesota, 1 to Paris. They've been phenomenal. Second place, we got Optic Chicago. They've been back and forth, losing against a couple of teams that they probably, or losing against one team they probably shouldn't have. And then I'd really like for them to face off against Atlanta just a little bit better than what they do, because every single time recently it's been a quick and easy, fast 3-0. No questions about it. So they need to do better against FaZe and the top teams, of course. Minnesota gets 3rd in this group, relatively normal group for them. Paris gets in 4th, 2-3 record overall. This one's kind of surprising. LA Thieves 1-4. 4-game losing streak for them. They have swapped the roster back a couple different times. Now going into the major on LAN, they now put in basically all their veterans. So they got TJ, Kenny, Slasher, and Hook. So all those guys will be at the major competing for them. And then Seattle down there in 6th place, 1-4. They did beat Optic though in a, I don't want to say it was a really close matchup, but it was a pretty close matchup. And they get a win for the first time in what seems to be a long time. Over to Group B though, we got Toronto Ultra 4-1, New York Subliners 4-1, pretty straightforward groups for those guys. Dallas 3-2, Florida 3-2, you know, pretty straightforward for those two teams. Dallas definitely has dipped, you know, probably in that tier 2 teams now, unless they come out on LAN and do something different. And then we have London and LA Gorillas 5th and 6th place. So relatively, you know, obviously underwhelming performances from London and LAG, but you know what? They're, you know, we have to have bad teams in the league, and unfortunately, they just are a couple of them. So, interesting note though, after the conclusion of stage 4 here, when we're going on to LAN, the New York Subliners will be without one of their players, Asim, who I believe is stuck in Canada. So they are gonna be, I don't think they've announced who they're playing with yet, but they're gonna be playing with someone different from the challenger scene that is not on a CDL contract at all. So that'll be interesting. Can't wait to see who they pick up and how they do, but they're definitely gonna have a tough road ahead of them. So we got the conclusion of the group play. Let's get into the predictions for the stage 4 major. So of course, I think I mentioned it earlier, maybe I didn't, but the stage 4 major is going to be on LAN. Yes, we are returning to LAN for Call of Duty, so some of these teams might be completely different than what they've been, and especially some predictions as well could be, you know, a lot different than what you might think. So I want to start down in the losers bracket round 1. We have the LA Thieves and the LA Gorillas. Once again, a battle of LA, and although, you know, the LA Thieves have struggled throughout stage 4, you know, 1-4 record overall, I still think they're going to come out out and absolutely crush the LA Gorillas. With the names on LA Thieves, you know, I feel like they're going to put it together, right? They still got a little bit of practice time before the major starts, more reps to get, you know, familiar with each other again. And, you know, they're going to figure it out, hopefully, if they want any chance of success, because I have them going a good portion through this tournament. So I'm predicting LA Thieves to come away with a 3-0 victory in that round 1. In that second matchup, though, this one could be interesting, right? Seattle and London, two of the worst teams in the league. Could be an either way for both these teams, right? Both these teams could take it. Both these teams could absolutely lose. One team could crush. One team could do terrible. This one, I'm going to predict Seattle Surge coming away with the 3-1 victory. When you look at that team on LAN, you know, with the players on there, Octane, Pristini, Gunless, and Classic, those are all veteran players that all should have a really good chance. Obviously, London has been in turmoil anyway, and yeah, they just haven't been good. So Seattle, I feel like they're going to get better if we have more events on LAN, but 3-1 seems to fit them pretty well. On to round 2 of the elimination bracket. We have the LA Thieves versus the Florida Mutineers. Now, yes, LA Thieves have struggled, like we said, in stage 4, but do they struggle against I don't want to say a hot Florida team, but Florida has been, you know, doing pretty decent recently, right? They've been in the contention of the top 8. They've been looking towards the top 6, but just haven't gotten there yet. And what do the LA Thieves do? I think this one's going to be close. I think it's going to go game 5, and I think LA Thieves are going to come away with it. Like I said, the whole team on LAN should be a different story than online, especially given the individual talent of those players. But yeah, LA Thieves move on to round 3. Second matchup of round 2 of the elimination bracket. We got the Seattle Surge versus the Paris Legion, and I'm gonna stick with a similar story from the last round with Seattle, that these players on LAN will do better than they do online. Plain and simple, the players on Seattle should not be as bad as they are. They should be able to compete for the top 8. They should be in that situation, and they just haven't been. So I feel like Seattle's gonna walk away with this one. I think it's gonna be close though. 3-2 is my prediction for Seattle to move on in the 3rd round. But in order to move on to round 3 of the elimination bracket, we gotta drop down some teams from the top side. First matchup, we got the New York Subliners versus the Minnesota Rocker. And I said it earlier, but New York Subliners will be without one of their key pieces in ASIM. They're gonna be missing the player, so they will be having someone different on their roster. But usually, if it was their normal roster, I would predict this one probably a 3-0 or a 3-1 in favor of New York. However, I'm going to go game 5 win for New York. I still think they're a solid team. I still think they'll do okay. And I still think whoever's going to come in will do pretty well. And hopefully make a name for themselves and give themselves a pretty good chance at this event. So New York, I'm predicting them game 5 victory, 3-2. Second matchup, we got Optic Chicago versus the Dallas Empire. Now, once again, I'm going to say it a lot. We are on LAN now. Last time we were on LAN, Optic, you know, was pretty good. They were always considered to be one of the top teams. Now they got, you know, this new roster back on LAN and, you know, coming off a pretty convincing win versus the LA Thieves. Hopefully they bring whatever they did in that matchup to this one. I think they have what might be the world record or the league record for fastest control game in history, which I think was like 4 minutes and 58 seconds. Like, it was an absolute slaughter of a control. So if Optic can bring that good form and bring whatever they did against LA to this matchup, I think this one will be an Optic win. But if they go into this matchup how they did versus Seattle or how they did versus FaZe, I think they'll get smoked and they'll drop down the losers bracket. Hopefully they'll make a run. But this one, I'm going to hope that team that faced off against LA Thieves in the last matchup comes out. I think they're going to win it. I think it's going to be a 3-1. Could be really close. I think it's going to be a close matchup. Obviously, both solid teams, both tier 2 teams. But this one, Optic 3-1. Let's jump down to the losers bracket and get one more round done. We have round 3, starting with LA Thieves versus the Minnesota Rocker. And again, we have a team that has really underperformed. We have a team that's been pretty pretty solid for most of the year in Minnesota. Who's going to win this one? I think it's going to be LA Thieves, right? This team on paper just looks like they shouldn't lose. But for whatever reason, online, all these different roster changes, just something hasn't worked. And I think the major, once they get the first kind of round or two under their belt, I feel like they're going to start picking it up and they might even make a run here. But this one, I feel like it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a game 5, and I think LA Thieves will walk away with this one 3-2. Third round, match 2, we got the Dallas Empire versus the Seattle Surge. This one should be pretty straightforward, right? Just balance, or just kind of put off on skill and how good these individual teams are. I think Dallas will walk away with this one pretty handedly, but also, you know, given the players on Seattle, they also could make a pretty decent run. So I don't think Seattle has much of a chance in this one. They might be able to steal away a map, but I'm predicting Dallas 3-1, moving them on to round 4. Next matchup, we got to jump back up to the winners bracket. Round 2, we have Atlanta FaZe versus the New York Subliners. And if this was full team versus full team, I feel like New York would actually have a pretty decent chance in this one, but unfortunately, ASIM has those issues. And I think that's definitely going to hurt the Subliners, especially against these top teams. And this one, I think maybe New York takes a map, but I feel like Atlanta just going to come out, show their class, show how good they are, and show why they're the best team in the game. Probably could be a 3-0, but I'm going to give them a little bit of a buffer here. 3-1 in favor of Atlanta FaZe, moving them on to the winners finals. Second matchup, we got Toronto Ultra versus Optic Chicago. Now, yes, I've said Optic has been struggling for a little bit now, and they've looked questionable at times, right? They should not lose to Seattle, but they did. They shouldn't be getting 3-0'd by FaZe, but they did. And realistically, this team is so much better than what they're showing right now. And once they figure it out, once they play like they did against LA Thieves, they should be arguably a top 3 team. But for whatever reason, at some points, they kind of don't look to be true to form. And this one, they need to come out hot, right? They need to come out and beat Toronto. If they want to be considered, you know, in the top 3 team, you know, conversation, right? You have Atlanta and Toronto pretty much solidified there. If Optic want to be considered there, they have to play Atlanta a million times better and a lot closer, and then they have to beat Toronto, right? It starts with 1 map. All you gotta do is get to 3. But in this one, I feel like even on land, Toronto will beat this one and win in this one. I think it's going to be close, though. I think it's going to be game 5. Let's go round 11. Give me a good one. You know, it hurts to say as an Optic fan, obviously, but we also have to look at it realistically. The Optic have struggled against top teams, and especially given the last time Toronto and Optic have played, it's always been a close matchup. So this one, we're predicting Toronto 3-2. We got to jump down to round 4 in the elimination bracket. We got the LA Thieves versus Optic Chicago. Now, like we've mentioned before, Optic smoked them, right? The first 2 maps were close in the last matchup, you know, in the league. Hardpoint search, pretty close. That control, what did I say, less than 5 minutes. And then that hardpoint was a little closer in points than the gameplay seemed, but I feel like Optic should win this one pretty convincingly. We're going to match what they did in the league, 3-1. Optic moves on to round 5. Second matchup of round 4 in the elimination bracket, we got the Dallas Empire versus the New York Subliners. I'm going to keep mentioning it. ASIM, not there for New York. It's definitely going to hurt them against a top team like Dallas. You know, usually I'd probably pick New York in this one, probably a 3-1. But again, they're going to be playing with a different player. They're not going to be their true selves. And in this one, you got to, you know, say something about it. But I feel like Dallas is going to win this one. I'm going to go game 5. I'll still give New York a fighting chance, but Dallas walks away in the game 5, 3-2. Which sets up our final, what is it, final 5 teams, I believe, final 4, whatever it may be. But up in the winners bracket, we got what seems to be the last 2 teams in every single final Cinch stage. Was it 2? And Atlanta, Toronto, it's going to be a good one as usual. Let's make it go all the way down to that game 5. That search and destroy, let's make it a good one. Round 11, you know, whatever the case wants to be, make it a good one. Obviously, these two teams are good nonetheless. But we're going to predict Atlanta to walk away with this one in that game 5 at 3-2, sending them to yet another grand finals. But coming up in round 5, we have Optic Chicago versus the Dallas Empire, a rematch from winners bracket round 1. Do I want to make it any different? Not really, right? I mean, Dallas will come away with 2 wins. Optic will have a couple of wins in that time, but I still feel like Optic have the edge in this one. You know, they've looked insane at times, but they've also looked kind of iffy at times as well. But this one, I'm going to predict Optic to walk away with this one. In that game 4, will match round 1 results, and Optic will move on to the elimination bracket final with a rematch against the Toronto Ultra, which is where we're going to put it up now, right? Toronto, obviously, we know they're a solid team. We know they're one of the best teams. But can they bring it to land, right? They've only are going to be playing 3 matches in this entire tournament, right? And not tournament, in this entire event so far, right? They're going to be playing against Optic, FaZe, and then if they do what my predictions are saying, they're going to be facing off against Optic again. Will this team, yes, they're good online, yes, they've been really solid, but can they perform on LAN, right? Optic, full of players that have been on LAN, have won championships on LAN, and have overall looked great on LAN over the years. Toronto, though, I don't remember how many of them have actually played on LAN. I know Bance has, but I'm not sure about the rest of them. But I feel like LAN's going to be a factor. I feel like it could be a different story. And for some reason, although usually I would pick Toronto just given, you know, their top tier status and how good they've been playing recently, usually I just give them the win. But in this one, I feel like somehow Optics will come away this one in the game 5. Let's get back to, you know, form here as Optic fans, and let's bring Optic back to the grand final, which sets up a massive game in the grand final. We have Atlanta FaZe versus Optic Chicago. Now this one, you know, I don't want to just say it's biasy every single time, but like Optic looks pretty good most of the time, but then they also have those times where they look like they can't compete, or they play Seattle in a game 5 and they don't look that great, and you know, sometimes they just don't look great. But now we're on LAN, things can be completely different, right? No more server issues, hopefully no more tech issues at all. I feel like it could be closer than we've seen online, and this one I'm gonna predict it's a little bit closer than it has been, but I still feel like Atlanta has been a top team. They haven't showed their, you know, true weaknesses yet. They've only lost 2 maps in the league, and it should be a close one. But Atlanta FaZe, I feel like they're just too good right now. I feel like they're gonna walk away in the game 8, which sounds super weird, but I feel like it's gonna be 5-3 in favor of Atlanta, and I feel like they're going to walk away with yet another championship. So although it does hurt me as an Optic fan to predict their losses, but some way, somehow, they've got to get better, right? They got to beat these top teams, they got to play these teams more consistently, and they got to compete with FaZe a little bit better than what we've seen, because they've been, you know, a top team, but can they get to that next level? That's my predictions. If you guys did enjoy, hit that like button down below. Let me know your thoughts and comments and all of your predictions down there in that comment sections. If you haven't yet, or if you're brand new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button down there as well. Turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload. And don't forget, you can always change your mind later. With all that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next one.